Welcome back. We are now at this is the Nathria Castle Murder at card arena card evaluation and card review stream. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Hello. We're going through the rest of the cards. So this is going to include C plus and below. So once again, we are in, near the Yeti tier. Yeti would be like bottom of C, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeti would be
Yep.
bottom of C. So yeah, so we're getting close to Yeti. But keep in mind the C pluses are very close to Bs. So some of them may actually seem quite good, and they are. We just have this one video covering and this one podcast covering the rest of these, and there are a lot of these just because we didn't want one with only the crappy cards. Okay, let's start with the C pluses. These are almost Bs, but not quite. And we're actually going to start with what we were talking about if you are watching the stream live, and it's the legendary card. We're starting with it because we have no idea how this card works, apparently, as Chad has pointed out. And we still don't know how it works. And it is Murloc Holmes. It is a 3-mana, 3/4 Murloc, Battlecry. Solve 3 clues about your opponent's cards to get copies of them. So, what does that mean? We don't know. People have different interpretations in chat. We had our interpretation. Someone's probably right, or we could all be wrong. But, regardless of what it is some formulation of you're presented with 3 discover choices, as in you're presented with 3, then another 3, then another 3. And the first one is what's in their hand, or what's in their starting hand, then it's what's in their current hand, then it's what's still in their deck. Now, the question comes in is what the card pool is that they're presenting you with. And Chad is saying that all the cards being presented are from your starting deck, which changes things compared to if it's random, and I'm not sure what it is. This card doesn't really help in terms of, describing what this means. I don't think it's even something you can necessarily figure out by playing the card a couple times, but it's going to end up somewhere between a C plus and a B. So it is possible that under favorable interpretations of what this card actually does, that it is a B. Under a totally random interpretation in Arena, which is that they just show you 3 cards, you have to pick it, it would be a C+. But if chat is right, and a lot of people in chat seem pretty confident about it, like relatively speaking, even though they're not presenting any evidence for it, if all your options are from your starting set, then your chances of getting at least 1 card, if not 2 cards, are actually pretty high from this, and this card becomes a B.
Okay.
So yeah, it's that's kind of where we're at with this. Yeah. So maybe this belongs in the previous video now that we think it's more of a B than a C plus. But I figured we'd lead it off with this. We just don't know, and this is the problem, right? We talked about before where it's like there was a card with Party Crasher where you threw something at something and you can kind of figure out what that means. Well, here you really can't figure out what that means. What the hell does solve 3 clues about your opponent's cards mean? The 0% chance, if you never saw the card work, you can guess what that means. 0% chance you will know either what they're asking you or what the pool of cards is.
All right, that's enough about this random legendary.
Okay, but this is probably a B depending on the interpretation rather than a C plus. So we just want to get it out of the way. Oh, it's also, by the way, unclear whether it means you're either drawing all 3 cards or 0 cards, or if you are drawing cards 1 by 1. Because
no, you definitely draw all 3 or none.
Okay, you definitely
if
draw
that
all 3
was
or
in
1?
question.
Okay.
Yes, that is 100%.
Because but the assumption I was using is that you draw all 3 or none, because that's how I interpreted the grammar. But okay, fine.
Yep.
Someone was saying
that
that Cora had confirmed that you draw cards 1 at a time in chat. And then someone else is saying that's not how it works. So, like I said, there's a lot of information going around, and no one really knows what's happening, or The people who do are equally as loud and numerous as the people who don't but want to talk on the subject anyway. And we don't know. But this card is likely a B, possibly a C+. Moving on, let's talk about the actual C+ cards. We are going to start... Remember, this is C+, so this is significantly better than a Yeti. Yeti being the lowest of the C tier. So this is not even C tier, this is C+ tier. And the first one is Dredgers Staff. Dredgers Staff is a 1-mana, it's a common neutral card. It's a 1-mana 1/2. Battlecry, give minions in your hand +1 health. This is how you design a 1-mana card. I love this card, the design of it, because it's a 1-mana 1/2. Its tempo is not really good at all, but it is a 1-drop, and it does provide enough buffs to the rest of your hand to give it the value. Like, C+ is fine. I forget what like a Mermy is. A Mermy is either a B or a C+. But it's in that same kind of like area where this is like, this is fine. This is like a fine 1-drop to have and a fine 1-drop to play. And it is not overpowered. Its swing is not big, but it introduces some RNG to it and it messes up all your expectations. Like, but in terms of like, you're now going to have Yetis with 4/6, right? Like, you're now going to have other minions that you normally see with a certain stat come out with a different stat. And it just creates a lot more variety in the game. Like, I love the design of this card.
Yep. The thing I appreciate most about this game is that Blizzard, for the longest time, made cards for World Champions. So, you know, you had like Firebat for actual Firebat, right? And they're finally recognizing like people who got on the arena leaderboard, because this is Dredge's card, right? They made a card that looks exactly like him, right? It has Dredge in the name, which is kind of like Dreads. And you know, they probably took his most flattering angle and then transferred it to the card. So another shining example of of Blizzard really paying attention to the arena community, and was like, hey, you know, this guy who got 9.4, like, let's show him some love, right? Like, this is his card. Here he is in glorious fashion.
All right. So to keep this moving, so we don't get to 3 a.m., although it's looking more likely that we will. Let's move on to the next card. Next card is Anonymous Informant. It's a 2-mana 2/3 common neutral. Battlecry. The next secret you play costs 0. So obviously this is just a croc if your class has no secrets, which is a D. Crocs are Ds. They are not good. But in Mage, this card is a C+, because that is how good saving 3 mana is. And that is also how good being able to play the secret, potentially, on 2 and getting it out earlier is. It's quite a big deal. And if you don't have it on, like, the best part is that you don't even have to have it in your hand at the time. It's just your next secret. So whenever the hell you get a secret, it's free. That 3 mana, it just stays with you until you get a secret.
Yep.
In case you're wondering, we have Hunter and Rogue at C and Paladin at D.
By the way, guys, this doesn't mean like, you know, oh, draft all of the mage secrets you can. You know, mage secrets tend to still be not great.
Mm-hmm. But you'll end up with some, and you'll end up with more secrets than you think you will, because the other cards are bad now. Okay, next up we have Bog Beast. This, again, we're still in the C+ territory. Bog Beast is a super normal card. I can't believe they printed it. It is a 6-mana 3/6 taunt for 6 mana, common neutral, and has a death rattle. Summon a 2/4 Muckmare with taunt.
It's okay. I don't know. Okay, look. It's do you guys remember Fen Creeper? It wasn't good, but like Fen Creeper, and then the better version, which was like Sludge Belcher, right? It's like kind of one of those.
Yeah.
Sludge Belcher.
For 6 mana, okay. Remember the current taunt that you're used to seeing for 6 mana is a 2/10 taunt, right? That freezes stuff. This one is the 3/6 with the 2/4 attached to it. It'll last longer than the 2/10, but it doesn't freeze stuff, but it punches a little bit harder. The 2/10 taunt, I think we rated a B. maybe a C plus also. But this is a hold its own. It's just a lot of taunt. Like honestly, for 6 mana, it's just a lot of taunt,
It's a
and
lot of taunt.
that is worth quite a bit. You need
So
to
it's okay.
survive to get to your stuff, right? You're gonna have a lot of stuff.
Just live. Just live,
Just
forehead.
live. All right. Next up is the card we've all been waiting for. We've heard this card named more times than any other card in this stream so far. Where is it? Why hasn't it been revealed yet? Is it really that bad? It is a red herring, as in the card's name is red herring. It is a 7 mana, 3/12 taunt. So another big taunt. This one for 1 more mana than the other one. So remember, the other one had like 10 stats and a death rattle, so it effectively is like 12 taunt as well. And this one costs 1 mana more. But it has an ability that the other one doesn't, which is your non-red herring minions have stealth. How much does that matter? Because remember, you're putting a 12 health taunt on the board on the same turn that you play this. So any kind of weapons or like rush is probably not getting through anyway. But direct damage now no longer works.
Yep. And it has to be in like a targeted direct damage kind of thing. So, if they flame strike or consecrate or something
or
like
do
that.
random like deadly shot, like that'll still work.
So look, C plus is okay. It's around kind of like where it basically is the average card in your drafted deck, right? Like it's around there. It's gonna be a C plus. So yeah, I think it's gonna be okay. I said this before in chat. You're gonna lose to this card sometimes, like because of the effect, and you're gonna get tilted because you're gonna be like, I lost to a freaking red herring because I couldn't target their, I don't know, whatever, like huge generator. But I don't think the times in which this card gives other cards stealth matters that often. As in, like, okay, you lost. Was it just because of that stealth ability? If it was, well, that sucks, but probably not going to happen that often.
Yeah, and sometimes it will matter, but it's like you just saved like a 3/1 from getting pinged or something after a trade. So, like, did it help? Yeah, it did help, but not that much. Like, you prevented them from spending 2 mana to kill your 3/1. Now you get to use it the next turn. Yay? Like, it helped, right? The ability wasn't nothing, but it's not like moving the needle that much. So it's not like the ability's worthless. I think the ability is obviously worth something because most classes, I mean, all classes through neutral cards, but also most classes have their own direct damage abilities, and you're getting rid of the ability for them to do that. But it just, the impact, the vast majority of times, is going to be low from this ability. The taunt itself is going to be high, right? This is why we rated the same as Bog Beast, which people were surprised at how high it is. Well, Bog Beast has about the same amount of taunt as Red Herring for 1 less mana. So, yeah, right? Like, that's why the taunt is really good, actually. 12 health on a taunt, that's going to be really good. But 12 health for a taunt on a 6 mana card would be a lot better than 12 health for a taunt on a 7 mana card. Like, you really got to get some use out of this ability. And the reason they're rated the same is because you are going to get some use out of the Red Herring ability. It's just very rarely going to be game deciding or like super good. It's going to be incremental.
Yep. Okay. Now, look, if you guys just want to talk about flavor-wise, yes, this is like S tier, okay? Flavor-wise, this is S tier. I love it. I love the dumb face on this dumb fish. I love how it's called a red herring and it has this effect. I love it. It's great. But I don't think the actual card itself is great.
Yeah. Crooked Cook is the next card. Well, I need to find it because now we move difficulties, and then whenever you move difficulties, I can't find frickin' cards in Blizzard's official thing anymore. Okay, it's a 2 mana rare card. And this, again, we're still in C plus territory. It is a 2 mana 1/4. At the end of your turn, if you dealt 3 or more damage to the enemy hero, draw a card. On curve, it does nearly nothing. It's just a 2 mana 1/4. It's way understated. You're not going to draw a card because you probably haven't dealt 3 damage unless you coin out a 3/2 beforehand. Just not a curve card. So it's a conditional draw card for later in the game that is only a 1/4. But it is a conditional infinite draw card. Like, peasants are really good for a reason. When you can have a draw, that's good. But here, this is obviously not as good as a peasant, not just because you can't play it on curve, whereas you can for a peasant, but you also have to deal 3 damage to the enemy hero each turn. Now, that may not seem like something that's like hard to do, and it's not hard to do, but it means you can't trade with that minion that you're spending 3 damage to deal. And when you don't like trade and remove stuff and whatever with your minions, when you're down 3 tempo basically, because if not more than 3 tempo, you're down at least 3 tempo each turn. That's quite a tax on your ability to, one, function on the board, but also on your ability to protect this Crooked Cook so they could draw you more cards. So it's got a lot of things working against it. Even if it's not just like dead when you play it. And it's a bad 2-drop.
Yeah, I got nothing more to say.
Yep. Alright. Next. Okay, that's it actually for the C cards. Now we're moving on to... sorry, that's it for the C plus cards. Now we're moving on to the true C cards. These are cards that are a little bit better than a Yeti. Tiny bit better than a Yeti. And we're going to start with the first card, which is a Roosting Gargoyle. Roosting Gargoyle. It is a 2-mana 2/3 Battlecry. Give a friendly beast +2 attack. Beasts are around.
They are around. They are actually around. So look, it's a 2-drop with a small upside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we already established a croc was what, like D plus?
D.
Oh, it's a D. Okay, yeah. So that's it. It's getting a little bit of a consideration for its effect.
Beasts
But yeah,
are around.
they're around.
Next up is Maze Guide. Maze Guide. Only I can find. There we go. Which is a 2-mana 1/1 Battlecry. Summon a random 2-cost minion. That's decent tempo for a 2-drop.
That's it. A random 2-drop is like a little bit more than a 2/2 on average, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. That's the problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Sketchy Stranger, another 2-drop, another common card, 2-mana 2/2 Battlecry. Discover a secret from another class. So it's a 2-mana 2/2, which is bad. It gives you a card, which is what 2-mana 2/2 should do, and those are usually good, but the card you're getting is a secret, which is bad.
Secrets on average are not good. That's the problem with it. There are good secrets, yes, but there are a lot of really bad secrets. That's the problem.
So yeah, well, you take this over a Yeti because it's enough utility to justify it, but it does have a cost. Alright. Next up for C is Dinner Performer. Dinner Performer is a 3-mana 2/3, another common neutral. Battlecry. Summon a random minion from your deck that you can afford to play.
This is such an interesting card.
Oh god, this card. Okay, so you have to have enough mana left over after playing Dinner Performer that you can play a card from your deck. Which means unless you have 0 drops in your deck, you cannot play this card on turn 3. Now, after you play this card, you can still use that mana. This card doesn't use up your mana. It just is delayed, right? This delay theme that's kicking in really hard in this like whole set and in all the supporting cards in this new meta that we're entering in. So if you're playing this later, you have this wide ability to roll something. Let's say you play it on like turn 8. Well, you got 5 mana's worth of stuff, so you can summon anything from 0 mana to 5 mana. If you summon something that's 1 mana, it's kind of bad because while that may be okay as a 3-drop, this is not a 3-drop. This is a card you'd played on turn 8 and it only summoned a 1-drop. That is not good. 2-drop, still not good. A 3-drop, okay. 3 mana for a 2/3 and a 3-drop from your deck. That's fine. Like for the late game. But if you get a 4-drop, that's a win. If you get a 5-drop, that's really good. It's a lot of RNG, and they designed the card a little too well, so that's why it's a C.
Yeah, the problem with this is just you're just putting a cap on everything. The floor is still the same. Like you could still get the same crappy like 1-drop, but you're just putting a cap on whatever you summon out. Which look, I understand for a 3-mana card, you can't have it be that insane. But yeah, like the more I think about it, and I'm seeing the comments in chat as well, they're like, oh, well, you don't play on turn 3, you play a little later on, and it thins out your deck a little bit. If you're playing this card later on, like the standard for a card that you don't play on curve and you play later on, that standard is pretty high now. Like that standard is pretty high, and the payoff should be pretty high for something that you're like, oh man, if I play this on like turn 7, turn 8, turn 9, and then, if I do a little bit of deck manipulation, and then, now I'm thinking about my later draws as well, it should be better. Like, and that's the reason why
what
I'm
you
just like,
want
yeah,
to do
I don't see it.
is like play it on turn like 4 or 5. Like on turn 4, it's good for 3 mana, but you have to have something to do with the other mana. On turn 5, you can just stick it with the 2-drop or the hero power, and it's just kind of good. Like, that's kind of when you want to play it if you have it in your hand. And again, it's just like, it's such narrow ranges. Later on, you can high roll, right? But like, what have you really high rolled? Like some extra tempo, right? And you can still low roll. Okay, so that's Dinner Performer. It's too well designed of a card that it can't be good. Okay, let's move on to the next card. The next card is Murlocula. Murlocula is a 4 mana 3/4 lifesteal card, which is not that great. But infuse 4, this costs 0. Again, delayed tempo. So you just leave it in your hand. At some point, 4 things are gonna die, and then this pops out for free. But what pops out for free? A 3/4 lifesteal. Like, late-ish in the game. That's good, but it does cost a card, too. It's not, like, totally free or anything. It's a C. I'll take it over a Yeti, but I'm not, like, excited about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. No more comment on this one.
Alright, and now we get to the card we've all been waiting for. It's Muck Plumber. Muck Plumber, 5 mana 5/5, common neutral. All minions cost 2 more mana.
Oh man. Do you guys know like how much I would have loved this card in some of my like aggro decks? Some of them. It's just such an interesting card, but like, okay. I'm curious to know if people think this is like too high or too low, because I can see it both ways. I can see some people saying it's too high. I can say I can see some people thinking it's too low. But after I'm thinking about this, I'm like, yeah, I think it's just kind of where it's supposed to be.
Like,
Yeah.
you're not happy with this in your deck because it's a 5 mana 5/5. But you're not like, it's not like going to sink your deck, right? It's like, it's kind of like a Yeti. Like, I don't know. It has a very fancy ability that has a wide-ranging effect depending on the situation, but you don't know the situation. You can't play it in the right situation. You just kind of play it and hope for the best. Like, make sure it doesn't screw yourself, but that's about it.
Yep. So, I think this is a card, once again, that'll frustrate you because you're going to lose to this card. People will draft it. You're going to lose to this card, and it's going to have that red herring effect in which you're going to be like, oh my god, this like this card made me lose the game, and it's going to be really annoying. Now it looks less annoying than red herring because it doesn't have that dumb fish face staring at you.
I don't know, it's a dumb gnome face.
But whoa. However, I haven't heard the voice line for Muck Plumber yet, so you never know.
You
Okay, that could
haven't heard
always
the
change.
voice line for Red Herring it either. Could be
That's
the
true.
best fishy sound.
That's true. I'm thinking of like the Magikarp sound in my mind, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyways, I don't think much more has to be said about this one. It's one in which I actually thought a lot about this card. I'm like, yeah, it's just on average, I think it's not going to be good and also not going to be that problematic, but it's going to swing like from game to game,
Yeah.
right? The variance is going to be high on the impact that it's going to have on that particular game, on that particular turn, with the two hands that are in play right now.
Yep. So, yeah, people make mana wraith comparisons. This is definitely better than mana wraith. It's a 5 mana 5/5, not a 2 mana 2/2. Um, that's what makes it better. But it has the same effect, right? You deny your opponent the curve, maybe, but how important is the 6 curve? Maybe you make him spend 2 mana, but then if you can't kill this off, you have to spend 2. It's a lot of thinking. But honestly, you can't control it. You don't know enough information. You just play it. You hope for the best. You make sure it doesn't screw you too much the next turn if it survives. All right. Next up, we have. What do we have? Masked Reveller. Do we know what mana cost Masked Reveller is?
No, I do not.
Okay, Masked Reveller. There we go. It's a 6 mana common neutral. Again, we're in C's now. These are a tiny bit better than Yeti. 6 mana 4/4 rush. Death Rattle. Summon a 2/2 copy of another minion in your deck. A random copy. If you get one with a good ability or a Death Rattle, it could be really good. Most of the time, it's going to be very whatever. But that being said, it's a 4/4 rush with the 2/2. That's something.
But I don't think you're showing Mass Reveler.
My bad. There we go.
There you go. You guys can figure it out. You guys are smart enough, right? Yeah, this is like a fair mothership.
Yes.
This is a very fair mothership.
Mm-hmm. This is what mothership should have been. Okay. It's not much to say about Masked Reveller. Next, we're gonna go with Invitation Courier. So, Invitation Courier is only a C. It's normally a D. It's not a good card, but it is a C in Rogue. So we're gonna just put it here. It's a 3 mana 3/4. Wait, what? Okay.
What?
Well, we have this wrong. It's a plus. You dropped off the plus, or I dropped off the plus. But it's normally a D plus, which is what 3 mana 3/4s are. But here it is a C in Rogue, because Rogues have a lot of cards that generates cards from other classes. So the text for this card is: after a card is added to your hand from another class, copy it, which is really good if you're able to generate cards from another class.
Yep, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even have a tag on it.
Yep. Priest has thief cards. But yeah, maybe it'll also be a C, like a lower C than Rogue. Rogues have more guaranteed other class cards. Priests, you kind of have to go with like luck of the draw, right? So yeah, I can see Priest also being a C.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, and then finally for C's, we have Theotar. Theotar, the Mad Duke, is a legendary card. It is our last legendary card, and it is a C. It's a 4 mana 3/3. Battlecry. Discover a card in each player's hand and swap them.
All right, this is a card that I like. All right, Merps the Hater. I like this card. The reason I like this card is just because I think the meta has kept trending towards. I understand we have a new meta; it's different, but it's kept trending towards this like, okay, big swing card. Like, there are big win conditions. Once again, I understand Colossus are out, etc., etc. I just think that's the way that the game is trending. And I understand. With this card, you don't get a net positive in cards. What you're getting is a quality improvement in your card. But what I think it does is it potentially takes away your opponent's big win card, whatever it might be, right? For this meta, it could be like a puzzle box, for example, something like that, something that they've saved for a while and potentially, or actually just does win them the game. And I think there's a lot of value to that. So I think it is a little bit higher than it is. I don't think it really matters in the end with these legendaries, like whether we call it like a C or whatever, but I like this, and that is the reason why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, we have it as a C, and it's doing quite a lot of work because a 4 mana 3/3 is beyond trash. A 4 mana 3/3 that doesn't give you much card advantage is unbelievably trashy F tier cards. But it's a C. It's better than a Yeti because this ability of swapping a card with your opponent is quite good. It's game winning in some situations. But how frequently those situations trigger and how long this card remains a dead card in your hand is what's hurting it. Because this can absolutely win you the game. And it is not often a card rated C can win you the game. Very infrequently. Like, you saw all the other cards that we're talking about in the C tier. None of them will ever win you the game. This card can win you the game. That's why it's a legendary. But it happens maybe a quarter of the time, maybe a third of the time, and you have a dead card the whole time otherwise. Like, there will be a number of games. This is like the Ysera problem, right? Like, there will be a number of games. There's just a dead card in your hand, and then you either win or lose the game. And Ysera didn't really do anything. Theotar is not going to do anything for the majority of your games. But sometimes it's going to do something. It's going to win you the game. And you just have to figure out, like, and really pay attention to when it's losing you the game because it's not doing anything. And someone in chat asked, do you play this on curve? No, you never play this on curve. This is Ysera. You just hold it into your hand, you wait until your opponent only has 3 cards left, and then you play it. Because you want to make sure you get rid of their bomb. That's the whole point of the card. The card is super, super terrible if you're actually rolling the dice on whether your opponent has the bomb in their hand by turn 4. And then you happen to, like, have one of your, like, 3 cards roll into that bomb. Like, no. No, 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 no. You don't play this card on turn 4 unless you have nothing else to do. But yeah, that's Theotar, the Mad Duke. I love the design. I just don't think it's going to be that powerful in Arena most of the time. And there's also the case where your opponent sometimes just has 2 bombs, and so this card doesn't matter anyway. So even when your opponent has a bomb, it doesn't mean that this card is going to actually win you the game, right? So yep. It's that range. Like, keep a lookout for these cards, right? These cards that look like they have the insanely huge effects, like Ysera or whatever. Like, how often are they actually winning me the game that I wouldn't have won otherwise? And how often does having a dead card in my hand for X number of turns has really hurt me in this game? All right. That is it for the C tier cards. Let's move on to D+. Next, we are on to the D+ territory. These should go quick because they're not particularly.
I'm just gonna let you do your thing,
okay.
And then
we're just gonna speed through them.
Unless I find something super interesting, but a lot of these are not interesting.
First one, Volatile Skeleton, 2 mana, 2/2, common neutral, death rattle, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Random enemy, not random enemy minion, makes it super erratic, super volatile, you might say. But remember this card because mages are gonna do a lot of crap with this card. I had to redo all the mage cards because I thought mages were just doing 2/2s. And I was like, why do all the mage cards suck? But no, there's summoning Volatile Skeletons, which are this particular card. But yeah, but as an independent card in neutral, it's not so great. It's a D+. Now, I mean, Crocs are D+ too, right? So it's not like undraftable. It's just bad. Another D+ card is Creepy Painting. Creepy Painting is a 3 mana 0/6. After another minion dies, become a copy of it. This is a very interesting card. It is very difficult to play, but you can think of it as kind of a weird version of like Faceless, right? For like a mana cheaper, but requiring you to do more work. And Faceless is not good. If you guys were wondering where Faceless will be rated, like these days, Faceless is probably like a D+ itself, maybe a C, like a low C. So Creepy Painting is even worse than Faceless. And you can't just play it, by the way. If you're thinking, oh, it's not a Battlecry, you could just play it. No. Then your opponent kills something that's small of yours, or you can never play a small thing, or your opponent just kills the 06. Like, you never just play it on empty, but like on like without having the trade on the same turn, unless you're super desperate, right? So yeah, Creepy Painting. Next up is Scuttlebutt Ghoul. Scuttlebutt Ghoul. Where are you? Really, where is Scuttlebutt Ghoul? Okay, it is a 4 mana 2/5 taunt. That is a common neutral. Battlecry. If you control a secret, summon a copy of this. So for the secret class, like 2/4 2/5 taunts are terrible. Obviously, nothing more needs to be said about that. But if you are a secret class, a class with secrets, and you can play it with a secret, 2/5 taunts are actually only just kind of bad, rather than being absolutely bad. If you get it on curve, that's a win, super win, but you probably won't be able to get it on curve. You can just play it on the same turn. It's still very good tempo, very good protection. It also synergizes with a lot of secrets, actually. So yeah.
Okay.
Next up are the D tier cards. So that was all. That was D plus tier. We're now going to the D tier cards. The first D tier card is Steam Cleaner. This one's a rare card. 5 mana 5/5 mech. Battlecry. Destroy all cards in both players' decks that did not start there. I mean, it's pretty much just a 5/5 with 5 mana, which is why it's a D. Ashen Elemental is the next D tier card. Ashen Elemental is a 3 mana 2/4. Battlecry. Whenever your opponent draws a card next turn, they take 2 damage. So, I mean, it's a 3 mana 2/4. It's epic. The D deals a little face damage. All right.
Discourages more card drawing unless they can kill a 2/4, but that's not possible. So,
Okay, next one. Demolition Renovator. This one's another epic card. It's a 4 mana 4/4. Battlecry. Destroy an enemy location.
Is this how we're gonna do it? Just like hate cards? Is this it?
I mean, I don't know. So destroy an enemy location is actually, like, it actually does something, because enemy locations tend to hang around for a while, but keep in mind, you're not actually, like, it's not the same as, like, destroy a beast or whatever, because your opponent's probably using the location the first turn it gets played. You're only destroying, like, half the value at most of the location. It's like destroy a weapon, right? And you know what happens with weapon removal cards, like, say, Ascetic Swamp Ooze, which is not all that great of a card anymore? They have normal stats. This one lost a stat. Why? I don't know. Maybe, like, Blizzard just really did not want hate location to, like, be a real thing. And, like, all classes only have one location card anyway. So if you're even thinking about it in construction purpose, maybe they could, like, duplicate cards or, like, discover cards or whatever. But, like, I don't know. I don't really understand it, but it's a D in Arena. Not totally unpickable, but bad. And finally, there's one final card that is neutral in the set. It is a F+. It escaped being a F just barely. It is Sinstone Totem. It is a 1 mana 0/3 totem. At the end of your turn, gain +1 health. So like, almost all cards that don't do anything are like Fs. But this one's actually a F+, because you can actually synergize this with stuff. Like, your opponent actually does kind of want to remove this off the board, because at some point you may buff this, and then it actually becomes kind of insanely good for 1 mana. And if you just let it hang out, it will eventually get buffed. It's like an egg, right? Like, eggs aren't Fs. They're like F+. And in the right decks, they're better than that.
Cool. Okay, so these are the neutrals, right?
These are all the neutrals. like this set, the neutrals are very neutral. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like they're very like vanilla. Like we have a lot of creativity happening on neutrals, but like there's no like Knight Captain, right? Like the neutrals kind of all stay in there. Like even if they're very powerful, and even if their flavor is good, they're all just like doing normal stuff. Like Sin Runner is super powerful, but it's just a removal and a death rattle. We've seen that before. Stoneborn General, that's just two rushes, one trapped in a death rattle. Famished Fool is just drawing cards literally. Like Infuse is like a weird version of this corrupted mechanic that we've already seen before. Like it's all just kind of normal, like very flavorful, but the actual effects when you break down to it are all pretty normal. That's my take on this set.
Okay. Yeah. There's definitely some power here, right? Like there's definitely some power here. You're definitely going to see the power level shine through, especially with the old sets. But I agree. I mean, it's nothing super fancy. I think that's what you mean.
Yes, yes.
Like,
It's not fancy. It's powerful, but not fancy.
Yes, there's nothing super fancy with it. So yeah, I'll agree with you there.
All right. So yeah, that's it for the neutrals. We'll move on to the classes next. Do you want to give out some shout outs?
Yes. Well, now gotta shout out play Hearthstone. Wow, Hearthstone. And Blizzard for actually giving us codes. Thank you. Thank you to Blizzard for giving us codes. I think I'm not, knock on wood. I think that arena is moving in a good direction with Matt London and this like new communication, and everything. But this is the first time that we're shouting out Blizzard because they gave us codes.
Wow.
So thank you, Blizzard.
Yeah, thank you, Blizzard, for giving us codes. And I want to just like thank again Matt London and the team for just putting like I think the community has a good amount of faith in them to do stuff, and that they're gonna do it like more right than wrong, and that's the first time that's happened. Because right now in a normal preview stream, we would be freaking the f out at the fact that Sin Runner is in the game. They're printing Stoneborn General. Famished Fool even would like make us, do more than raise an eyebrow. And Insatiable Devourer will probably not be preemptively banned. And we would be like, oh, it's going to be a terrible meta for the first whatever, and then it'll get banned. Well, Insatiable Devourer is preemptively banned. We didn't have to wait and see like we did before. Like, think Lieutenant. Abominable Lieutenant was in the game for a bit. And it was terrible. And then they eventually banned it because we all knew that it had to be banned. The Watch Post was in the game, right? Like, these cards are in the game. Now we don't have to deal with that, at least for Insatiable Devourer. Now we still have to deal with it for Sin Runner and Stoneborn General and Famished Fool Asterisk, but at least Stoneborn General and Sin Runner. But they're probably going to get nerfed on offering rates pretty quickly, if not banned in the arena. So that's and I think with the nerf and offering rates, especially with how severe they do some of these, you don't really need to ban these cards. You kind of just like make them epic, right? And then you're good to go.
Yep.
So yeah, so we're not freaking out. We're pretty confident this is what's gonna happen. Like, we're still secure in our predictions that these cards are gonna be problematic, but we are also pretty sure that if they are problematic, they will be dealt with swiftly. So it's now okay to have really powerful cards in common and rare, because they will be dealt with swiftly. Hopefully much more swiftly than how, say, Mothership was dealt with. But, we're hopefully picking up the speed on dealing with these problematic cards. So we'll see what happens in this new meta. But it's going to start out bad. It's going to start out bad because Sin Runner and Stoneborn General are things, and because the meta is set up in a way that you will always get to them. I mean, Sin Runner every meta will get to, but Stoneborn General you will get to in most of your games at 10 mana. And everyone's going to have it because the offering rate's insane for a neutral common in the new set. And it'll be your Stoneborn General, their Stoneborn General, who's Stoneborn Generally more than the other Stoneborn General. Like, a Stoneborn General is like 4 cards, at least. It's probably like 5 cards if you're talking about Yeti level cards. And so you don't have to play Sprint to have that massive like card advantage. And that's going to decide a lot of those, like, who wins at the end and actually runs out of cards.
Okay, that's it.
All right. We will do classes next. Until then, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. See ya.